30 seconds and counting.
There were plenty of years where there were guys who would dread being drafted by the Buffalo Bills. Not anymore.
Astronauts report it feels good. T-minus 25 seconds.
Brandon Beane realizes they're in a window of 2 to 3 years max to get this done while the iron's still hot. And getting Von Miller into that situation was big for the Bills.
10, 9.
Oh, baby.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Great interview, guys.
What is up, Buffalo Fanatics? Z-Bot here with you, live on the Buffalo Fanatics YouTube channel on a Sunday evening. And that, of course, can only mean one thing. It is the Smoke Break, powered by BetUS. Hopping on for a quick one this evening. Talk about a couple of things I've been seeing all throughout the week. Get your guys' thoughts on them. We'll talk more about it tomorrow night on a full iteration of the Smoke Break. But was bored this afternoon, been scrolling my Twitter feed and been seeing a whole lot of craziness. Thought we'd get on here this afternoon and talk about it, see what your guys' thoughts are. And overall, sort of address what I find to be the current problem in the NFL. And it might not necessarily be what you think, what other people think, what Chiefs fans think, what Bills fans think. I think there might be a problem that we can all sort of agree on. The solution to it, however, certainly up in the air. We'll have to see. Good to have you in. We are a week removed from the season finale of our Buffalo Bills. Hope you guys are doing better as the week has gone on. I wish I could say I have. Not only has the loss been lingering all week long, but I've had the flu pretty bad all week. So not only have I been dealing with the loss all week, but I've been dealing with the flu all week on top of it. So what a crappy week. Figure we would top it off at the end of the week here with a quick smoke break, about 45 minutes or so. Talk about a couple of things I've been seeing online a ton throughout the past week here. Get your guys' thoughts on it as well. We are a week removed from the Bills season ending. We are 1 week away from the Super Bowl, where the Chiefs will look to win their third consecutive championship over the Philadelphia Eagles. And that right now is up on BetUS. The line is currently 1. Shocked it hasn't moved at all. The line has stayed at 1 all week long. So this game is projected to be as close as you can possibly imagine. The Chiefs are a 1-point favorite. The over-under is 49, and the team totals are the exact same at 24.5. So craziness. And that's a week from almost the hour right now. If you want to get in on it, do so using the promo code YouTube150. That'll get you a 150% sign-up bonus, up to $2,000 on your first deposit, 125% bonus on your next two after that. All right, so the Bills, like I mentioned, the season's been over for about a week now. And ever since the game has come to a conclusion, but a lot of chatter about the refs. A ton. I've done 2 shows since that game was over, right after the game and the Monday following the game. 4 hours each. So 8 hours total talking about nothing but that game. And if you go back and watch through all 8 hours, you might find a total of 30 seconds max discussing the refs. I sit here today with the same ideology I had then, and that was the Bills were not the better team on the football field on Sunday afternoon. They weren't. The Chiefs had not scored 30 points all year long. They did in that game. The Chiefs outplayed the Bills. They scored when it mattered. The Bills didn't. The Bills, once again, much like every time they played the Chiefs in the postseason, came up short on the 1 or 2 little things. Now, there's a difference, though, between this time around and the other times. This time around, had one blatant play that directly involved the refs and then overall the outcome of that play. And it's kind of leading me to the topic in which I want to discuss this evening, and that is the overall issue right now that I think the NFL is facing. And I think it's not a referee problem, but it's a perception problem. Perception is often reality in life. That's just the way it goes. Unfortunately, sometimes it's for the better. Oftentimes it can be for the worse. You know the old saying, don't judge a book by its cover. Unfortunately, you know all too well that in this current day and age where everything is instantaneous in front of you, whether it's news, sports, what have you, everything is so headliney and so quickly absorbed that oftentimes whatever you see in a couple of scrolls is often going to become your reality. You know, it's funny, even last night, one of the biggest trades in NBA history happened last night. Late night. Most of you probably weren't even up for it. I couldn't believe it when I saw it. The LA Lakers traded Anthony Davis to the Dallas Mavericks for perhaps the best player in the NBA, Luka Doncic. Nobody saw this coming. And I'm not a huge NBA guy. I'm a casual NBA fan. I do watch, not nearly to the level in which I watch the NFL. And even I knew in that moment, the second I saw it, that was one of the biggest trades in NBA history. Turn on ESPN, that's all anybody's talking about. That's all anybody's saying. Stephen A., Shams, Windy, all of them saying the same thing. But when you went on Twitter and saw it, everyone just assumed it was fake. One, because of how insane the trade was, but two, because oftentimes when you're online and you're looking at stuff anymore, we are just conditioned to believe that things aren't necessarily real. And I think that is what's happening currently in the NFL. We go online after the Bills game all week, really here, and all week long, every time you hop on, there's something about the refs, something about the refs, something about the refs. In fact, right now, if you Google search NFL refs, these are the top results. Rob Gronkowski takes NFL officials to ask over alleged Chiefs favoritism. Lingering fallout. Andy Reid sends clear message to Josh Allen and Bills for complaining, which that's a clickbaity type headline. That's not what happened. Former NFL referee's family member claims league rigs games. So when you talk about the idea of perception becoming reality, for a lot of people right now, the perception of the NFL is that the fix is in. Do I think that's the reality? I absolutely do not. I think it would be beyond impossible to pull off what some people think the NFL is allegedly trying to pull off. I think it would be impossible to do. You're talking about millions of people involved throughout generations. When you really think about it to its core, I don't know how you could possibly think that. However, the perception right now is that something's up. Now, I think the majority of people don't necessarily think that there is. I mean, some people do. Let's be honest. Some people do. Some people think that there is a legitimate script being followed from game to game, and that is what's propelled the Chiefs to the championship, to the success that they've had, etc. I think most people think that that's a bit foolish, as do I. But I think what people are starting to see now is that we have enough of these little moments compiled to where people are starting to think that the elbow's being nudged towards the Chiefs by the league. And it's not necessarily like people are diving into it, doing their own research. Hell, some of these people might not even be watching the games for all we know. But when you hop on Twitter and there's a million tweets about it, what happens? The perception is something's fishy about the league. And then everybody starts talking about it, right? It's getting picked up by mainstream media. In fact, before the AFC Championship game, you had Adam Schefter tweeting out a bunch of statistics in regard to the calls that the Chiefs have been the benefactor of in the playoffs. It's gotten to the point where everybody is talking about it, almost ad nauseum. And maybe it's a form of recency bias. I think we were talking about it to this extent, or at least somewhat towards this extent, during the Patriots dynasty. But here's the biggest difference. social media, it's only gotten bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And yes, of course, I've had a Twitter account since 2011. So yes, of course, we had social media. And of course, it was prominent during Tom Brady and the Patriots run. But I don't think it's ever been more prominent where now it's only social media. The sports shows are essentially an extension of social media. So whatever's hot on social media is going to be hot on the radio shows, on the TV shows, etc. That's why all you're really hearing this past week, I've been hearing more talk about the referees than I have been necessarily the Super Bowl itself. And this is from my perspective, as someone who's on the losing end, the losing end fan base of this past week. I do not think the Bills lost that game because of the refs. In my opinion, they went to the well way too many times, far too many times on that tush push. Left it up to chance. And that call was so close on that first down that the ruling on the field was always going to be what they ended up going with. The ruling on the field happened to be that it wasn't a first down, right? I think that the Bills had their moments, didn't capitalize. In fact, the Bills had 3 minutes and 33 seconds with the ball in their hand to go down and either tie that game or win it, and they didn't. There was a drop involved. There was a screen play on 3rd and 10 that I didn't love. It wasn't overly executed to the best of the Bills' ability, in my opinion. But no one's really talking about that. A lot of the talk has been the refs, and I think the majority of it has to do with the Chiefs' fatigue. The Chiefs' fatigue is weighing in heavily on this, where people are so sick and tired of the Chiefs that they're looking for any reason to glean to as to how they are achieving and succeeding the way that they are. But the reason I wanted to talk about this tonight is because all week long, I don't think I've ever seen it be talked about as prominently as it currently is. And my whole take is, I don't think that it is necessarily a problem being orchestrated by a ref or the league or what have you. I think it's a perception problem that has ultimately resulted in the same exact thing. And this is the current problem with the NFL. When perception becomes reality, even though the games aren't being fixed, even though the refs aren't leaning one way or the other, the perception is that they are. So now you have a large amount of people under the impression that these games are being swayed. And the result of that has been a massive outcry online, a massive outcry by major news publications, by the media in general. And I think that the NFL has to find a way to eliminate this perception. And it's funny how you can go back to shows of mine months ago. And Rico and I were discussing the idea of the down and distance being measured electronically as opposed to sticks and chains. I still can't believe it. But then all of a sudden, now that it happened on a grand stage, it happened in the AFC Championship. Now, all of a sudden, everybody's talking about that. Months ago, we were having this conversation. In fact, I found an article, not just from my own perspective, talking about months ago, talking about this. I found an article from the LA Times, November 8th, 2015, this article was published. How long until sensors are used to track first downs and TDs? This article was published nearly a decade ago. And still, here we are, sitting here, in 2015 or 2025, and we're still having the same question. Meanwhile, this technology is being used in the NHL. This technology is being used for tennis. This technology is being used in professional soccer, all over the place. And now all of a sudden, what do you know? Pro Football Talk comes out with an article just the other day that the NFL has been testing optical tracking technology for first down measurements. And throughout the week here, we have seen consistent discussions about the idea of this technology being implemented moving forward. And oftentimes the NFL has waited for a catastrophe to happen or something prominent to happen in order to make a move. We saw it with the constant coining of no fun league. Remember, the NFL was considered the no fun league because you couldn't celebrate and everybody had had enough of it. And then all of a sudden, NFL leaned into it. Now you can celebrate after a touchdown. You can go nuts, right? We had the awful missed pass interference call in the Rams-Saints playoff game, right? It was so bad that the NFL the following year implemented the ability to review pass interference, even though they never overturned a call. Last year, you had multiple injuries on the hip drop tackle. So the NFL's response to that was implementing a flag for hip drop tackles. Did you see one this year? I can't think of one that came to mind. Now, on the grand stage of the AFC Championship, what you saw was the Bills come up short on a fourth down, whether you think they did or didn't. The reality is the ruling on the field was that they came up short, reviewed it, went with the call. And now, because of that, you're seeing this tracking technology be discussed like never before, even though the technology has been there. The article I just showed you discussing this exact same topic was being discussed a decade ago, but now all of a sudden it's being pushed into the limelight. You can go back to the Bills' 13-second game against the Chiefs, where Josh Allen doesn't touch the ball in overtime, and everybody's looking at that game saying, that's one of the greatest games I've ever seen. How is it going to come down to overtime with the other quarterback not having the ability to touch the ball? What happened? The NFL changed the rule so that now in the playoffs, both quarterbacks have an opportunity to touch the ball in overtime, regardless if they score a touchdown. Right now, however, I think it's the perception that is currently the issue. And I do not know what the solution is, but I think that it is solvable. The reason why so many people think that it's favoring the Chiefs is because they've had so much success. But when you factor in that all of these type of moments seem to lean towards the Chiefs, and then you factor in just the overall popularity of the Chiefs, that's where I think that the issue is stemming from. And I went back to the broadcast on Sunday, on last Sunday's game, the AFC Championship. And there are multiple reasons why I think people think that the Chiefs are getting the benefit of the doubt. And this right here might be one of them. So you're watching the game, and in the middle of the game, there's a commercial. And you know how they do commercial breaks that have the game playing while the commercial's also playing? They don't cut to a break. They just have a window, picture-in-picture like you see on your screen here, a picture-in-picture pop up, and the game's playing on one side and the commercial's playing on the other side. People are looking at this and saying, I'm watching the AFC Championship game with Mahomes playing in it, Andy Reid coaching in it, and while I'm watching it, on the same screen, I'm watching a commercial of Patrick Mahomes and of Andy Reid simultaneously. So people think that it's all kind of orchestrated into one thing. And what I'm finding is that people are seeing what's unfolding and are immediately assuming that each and every one of these little things that happens favors the Chiefs because of the popularity, because of the success, because they're on every commercial, right? I'm interested to hear what your guys' thoughts are, because it feels like this past week, I've really never seen the amount of discussion being had on this topic be raised to this level, quite like I've watched it be this past week. And I personally, I do not think that there is a legitimate effort to help the Kansas City Chiefs. But the problem is that I don't know if it matters to most people anymore. That has become the reality. The perception is that the Chiefs are benefiting from all of this. Therefore, the reality becomes the fix is in for the Chiefs. I saw a video come out breaking down everything that happened in this game. All of the little things that happened that skewed towards the Chiefs, right? And if you're watching, we're just going to go through and watch this. I wanted to watch this with you because somebody literally made a huge compilation of all the things that happened in the game and sort of broke it down on why this is how the league is rigged or whatever. So let's play this real quick. This has been going nuts on Twitter throughout the week here. This current iteration of it has over 500,000 or nearly 500,000 views, and I've seen this being posted by a million different people. So the caption is, listen, all jokes aside, the NFL is rigged. If you can't see that after this video, then you're just choosing to stay in denial. Let's take a peek at this video.
Does the NFL have an officiating problem? Well, let's go to the tape. There's two things that I noticed in this game. Number one, the Bills were repeatedly short-spotted by the officials. This is James Cook in the first quarter. Take it away, Jim.
Cook has a first down.
Well, I think everyone can agree that that is indeed a first down. Nice run by Cook there to gain an impressive
11 yards. He's tough.
11 yards, actually. Ooh, nice run. Oh, but hold on. James Cook is a little confused now because the refs are in a huddle, and they have come to the conclusion that he did not gain 11 yards, nor did he gain 10 yards. He actually gained 9. Yes, somehow that was only a 9-yard run. Look where they spotted the ball. You got to be kidding me. No, okay, so maybe that was just a one-time mistake. This is now the second quarter. This is going to be Amari Cooper. Josh Allen takes the snap, and he's going to find Amari Cooper off to the left here. He catches the ball, turns around. Now, I slowed it down a bit here. It's kind of hard to tell, but it sure looks like he gets the pylon to me, but
They're going to mark him about a yard shy.
and again, look where they marked the ball.
Now, let's talk about this for a second here. I did notice this throughout the game. It did feel like the ball was being spotted short throughout the game. This, to me, however, it's not necessarily an issue of the game being fixed. This, to me, all comes down to a broader issue, a far broader issue that doesn't just affect the Bills, that doesn't just benefit the Chiefs. It's a far broader issue that I think is being ignored right now. I think it's being ignored. I think it's being ignored in pursuit of because of the hatred of the Chiefs. The overall broader issue is being ignored. And the issue is that these plays should not come down to the judgment of guys standing on either side of the field with with a chain and a stick, using their own interpretation of where the ball was to then measure the outcome. That, to me, is the broader issue. I don't understand how you could watch the game and think that there are refs specifically taking the ball and moving it a yard backward to make it a disadvantage for the Bills. I just don't quite understand that. This happens in every game, but the fact that this happened in the AFC Championship is why it's being discussed so much. And I'm seeing all these comments in here. I think you guys are misunderstanding where I'm coming from. I'm the opposite of what I'm doing here. I'm not sitting here making excuses for the Bills at all. I do not think that the Bills lost that game because of the referees at all. At all. The Bills allowed the Chiefs to score more points than they had all year long. And there were two plays in particular in this game. Two plays in particular that had referee influence, if you will. One was the catch by Xavier Worthy down near the goal line. And one was the fourth down attempt by Josh Allen on the tush push that wasn't executed. Both things came down to the exact same result. And the result was the ruling on the field was made. And because there really was no overwhelming evidence to overturn it, the call was stayed with. And that's what happens time and time again. So when you have these rulings on the field and you go to the review and it's not conclusive, much like we saw with Josh Allen's sneak. I've been seeing that play be broken down a million different ways this past week. The reality is, if it has to be broken down that precisely, frame by frame, with all these different angles, and you still are not 100% sure whether or not he got it, that is why they ended up going with the ruling on the field, because it's that close. So the perception is that the Bills got hosed, and maybe they did. We'll never know, however, because of the lack of an implementation by the NFL to get these calls right. And this is what kills me about this whole thing. And I think that all of this can be solved. And I don't quite understand why the NFL hasn't leaned into this. I don't know why the NFL would want this lingering over their head. Because right now, what you're getting from people, at least from my small sample size from what I've seen, you're getting people who are flat out telling you they have no desire to watch the Super Bowl this year because of what they've seen. I tweeted out, are you excited for this Super Bowl? And I had over 140 comments on that tweet. And nearly 99% of them were saying, I'm not watching the game. I'm not watching the game. Here's the reality. Of those people who commented saying they're not going to watch the game, I guarantee you the vast majority of them are going to watch the game. I don't think the ratings are going to be affected by this idea that the Chiefs are getting the benefit of the doubt on these whistles or whatever. I don't think the ratings are going to be affected at all. But once again, it comes down to the perception. Sure, the ratings might not be affected, but right now the NFL does have a legitimate problem, even though I don't think what the refs are doing specifically in terms of there being an idea that they're doing this on purpose. I don't think that's legit. But there is certainly a problem with the idea that these calls can go one way or the other based on a human decision without necessarily having the resources in place to make sure that those decisions are 100% accurate. To me, it all comes down to hopefully the result of what we just saw on Sunday and really the result throughout the entire year here. We've seen this come up time and time again, whether it's a missed face mask call, whether it's a roughing the passer call. There has got to be an emphasis on making sure that these calls are called correctly and made correctly, especially in the biggest moments. And you can agree or disagree with me all you want. Either way, you have to look at it past what happened to the Bills on Sunday. You have to look at it past the result of what happened to the Bills. Because either way, say the Bills got that first down. We don't know what's going to happen on that drive. We just don't. But it's a broader issue to me. I want all of these games to be able to be decided based on legitimate resources. The technology is in place. Because for all we know, a different crew in that exact game could have ruled a first down for the Bills. Much like this crew didn't rule a first down for the Bills. A different crew could have ruled an incompletion on the Xavier Worthy catch. This crew ruled a completion. And it just feels like if that would have happened against another team, right? Say the Bills were playing the Ravens in that game in the AFC Championship, and those calls went the way they did. I don't think there would be this massive outcry for, I don't think there'd be this massive outcry over the idea that the fix is in. But I do think that there is a benefit to what happened to the Bills to some degree. I think that this is going to lead to some sort of change. It has to. Because I have yet to see the amount of outcry quite like I've seen this past week. I personally just don't quite see, from what happened this past weekend with the Bills, I don't quite see how that was so egregious that it's led to what it's led to this past week. I've seen far worse. But I think the benefit that's going to happen from this, the overall outcome that's going to come from this, is that we are going to finally get ways implemented by the league in order to eliminate this type of discourse. Because the league cannot be happy about this at all. You have the Super Bowl coming up a week from today, and people are pissed about it because of what they saw on Sunday. And in my opinion, I just don't think it was nearly bad enough to warrant this outcry. But the perception has become that. The perception has become, no matter what happens out on the field, well, if the Chiefs are benefiting from it, then it has to be, there's got to be something nefarious going on here, right? And the way it currently sits, it does not make any sense, in my opinion, how the league can continue to go on, allowing stuff like what happened Sunday to come down to chains and sticks. I just don't quite get it. The league certainly cannot be satisfied with the idea that a week before the Super Bowl, the discourse primarily right now is discussing the NFL refs and their overall impact on the game more than the game itself. I mean, like I showed you earlier, you Google it here. You just Google NFL refs, and it's all that comes up. It's all that anybody's talking about. And even though it might not necessarily be reality, the perception has become the NFL refs have far too much influence on the game. Now, to some degree, they do. And this goes beyond this past week. Whether it's a call or a non-call, there are certainly moments that you watch throughout the year where you can't help but wonder, how could that not affect the outcome of the game? Whether it benefits you or it's a disadvantage to you. And there's been Chiefs fans that I've talked to who have agreed in the sense that they're sick and tired of hearing this about the Chiefs because it illegitimizes their win. Imagine if the Bills were in the same spot as the Chiefs and all the success that they've had has been linked back to a bunch of BS that has apparently allowed them to have the success that they've had, even though they're doing things that no one's really ever seen before. So as I'm watching this all unfold this week, I just wanted to come on here and kind of rant about my overall take on it, because I think it's kind of nuts. I just think it's crazy. But what I hope the outcome is that when the Chiefs do win that game last week and it's not a first down, if the technology is put in place where they rule it to not be a first down, well, then nobody can have this discussion. Nobody can bitch and moan about being screwed by the refs, right? I'm wondering if it winds up coming to fruition. I do. Because as I mentioned to you, there was an article that came out a decade ago, discussing the idea that this type of technology should be implemented. And how it hasn't yet, to me, is insane. The problem, I think, currently, and I saw someone bring it up here. Where did I see it? The Taylor Swift aspect of it. Sal saying, Taylor Swift, Kelsey, nothing but money making for the NFL. And I get all this. I get it. This is why I think the perception problem the NFL has right now is one that they have to address. Because when you have a team that is as popular as Kansas City, that then results in all of the ad dollars, right? All of the commercials that feature them, right? And then you also have the Taylor Swift element, the most famous person on the planet, being thrown right into the middle of all this. It's very easy to think that people will rule one way or another, mainly ruling the way that benefits the popular team, right? I get all that. But I think that it's almost, at least in my opinion, the way I see it, it's sort of ruining the game for me, not because of what the refs are doing, but because of the constant bitching and moaning about the outcome of what happened. Did the Bills potentially get hosed on that QB sneak? I don't know. Maybe. But we don't know for sure. All I do know is the Bills had the ball on the final drive with the ability to go tie or win, and they didn't. And had the Bills have gone down and won that game with 3:30 remaining, then nobody would have been talking about this QB sneak call. But the Bills lost. The Chiefs won. They go to their third consecutive Super Bowl, and then this is all anybody wants to talk about. And all week long, it's just all that I've seen. It's all anybody's discussing. And I just can't, for the life of me, understand why it's taken this long. It's taken till this moment for everybody to absolutely freak out about one play in the AFC Championship game to want to start implementing things that should have been in a long time ago. Absolutely should have been done forever ago. A decade ago, we were talking about potentially implementing this technology into the game. It blows my mind. And the perception, for what everybody's saying in here, I totally understand this. The perception, right? The Taylor Swift perception. The picture-in-picture advertisement of Mahomes and Andy Reid while the game's playing. The perception. I get it. I get all of it. It needs to be eliminated. The idea that this can even be a discussion point after the game needs to be eliminated. And that, to me, is the current issue with the NFL. It's not necessarily the refs themselves. The current issue is the NFL's inability to address certain elements of the game that other leagues have that seems like it could be done, I don't know, quite simply. Once again, I've said this before when we've had this discussion. I'm not Elon Musk or I'm not some technology guru who can be the guy who sits here and tells you how they're going to do it. But when I watch tennis have it, when I watch hockey have it, when I watch soccer have it, I know it can be done. And when the biggest argument after a AFC championship game to why the league is no longer watchable because it's fixed is because we're relying on middle-aged men using sticks and chains to determine outcomes of plays. I think it's absolutely insane. And it's watering down the perception of the league and the way that we all view it. Instead of everybody talking about the game, everybody's talking about these moments. And it seems to happen all the time, all year long, even beyond the Bills, beyond the AFC championship game. Doesn't it feel like every week we have a major discussion about some missed call or some blown call, some call that shouldn't have been made? It's all perception based. And the NFL is certainly, I think, feeling it right now. I had 100+ people in my comment section telling me that they have no desire to watch the Super Bowl. They're going to watch it. I promise you. But I guarantee you the NFL does not like the idea that people don't want to watch it or saying they don't want to watch it, even though they're going to. The numbers are going to result in the same thing as they always have. It's the NFL. It's the Super Bowl. People are going to watch it. But do you want people watching it with their eyes squinted like this, waiting for the one moment to go the Chiefs' way, and then sit back and say, that's why they won it? Right? Because for me, sitting here as a Bills fan, I think it kind of sucks that the whole season for the Bills has sort of boiled down to the inability to get a first down on a fourth down call that I didn't particularly love the call to begin with. The Bills ran that same QB sneak on a 2-point conversion and did not get it. They ran it 6 times in that game and got it twice. They left it up to chance. They put themselves in a spot where it had to come down to being reviewed like that. And the way that the game is currently set up, everybody knows that if a call is that close, it's always going to be the ruling on the field being stood with. That's always going to be the case. And when you know that you haven't had the success on that play all game long, and you know that if you do succeed on that play, potentially, it's going to be very, very close, you're leaving it up to chance. And you notice throughout the game when the Chiefs needed a short yardage play, they got it visibly. There were other moments throughout the game where the Bills got it visibly, whether it was Allen lining up in the gun and running it on an RPO or a dump off to James Cook where he gained 25 yards. You have to be able to get it in a way that is going to be clear-cut and obvious. Because let's be honest, if they ruled that it was a first down on the field, they would have stood with that call. There was no call down on the field saying, well, it's going to benefit the Chiefs here. There was still 12 minutes in the game. The Bills still could have won the game beyond that call. Yet that's all anybody's talking about. So, I don't know. I was bored this afternoon. I'm reading all this stuff, and I wanted to come on here and get your thoughts. We're going to have a much longer show tomorrow night. I'm going to go through and read the comments, and then I'm going to, after this is over. And then tomorrow night, I'm going to read back some of your comments, and we're going to dive into what all you guys think as well, because I want to be able to get an idea of what the general perception is right now of all fans, of Chiefs fans, Bills fans, and just fans in general. So I kind of wanted to use this afternoon to set up sort of a hub where everybody can come on in and kind of write down what they're currently thinking. And let me know if you've been seeing the same thing throughout the week as well, because I've been seeing the same amount of discussion on this day in and day out. And I'm interested to see what you guys think. And I want to be able to talk about it with you based on your thoughts as well. So setting this up here, let me know what you guys think, not only in these, in the live chat comments, but in the main chat comments as well. And then tomorrow night on a full episode of The Smoke Break, we're going to sit back and we're going to go through and talk all about it. And maybe we'll take some calls tomorrow night as well. Kind of do a full end of the year type recap. Just, I don't know. I just wanted to get some thoughts off my chest. I know it's a little bit all over the place. And I think that's because this whole thing seems to be a little bit all over the place. And when you have the game that we all love coming down to these moments that just seem to be left up to chance and left up to put up in the air, and hey, one guy said this, one guy said that. I just think that it's not the way it should be. It's not the way it should be. Something's got to change. And I'm interested to see what your guys' thoughts are. So just a quick 40 minutes in the books. I actually got to get heading out, but I wanted to set this up, get your guys' thoughts, leave them in the comments. Then tomorrow night, we're going to dive into it deep, read off what you guys had to say, maybe work out some solutions and see what your guys' overall perception is currently on what the big takeaways have been post AFC Championship and really post-season here, and how everybody's kind of discussing the overall impact that the refs have had on the game. Because once again, I don't think I've ever seen the outcry be as loud as it currently is right now. So we'll pick this back up again tomorrow. Leave your comments. We'll be reading them all throughout the show tomorrow night. We'll go for however long, dive into what you guys think currently, and we'll see what the overall takeaway is. On the way out the door, like button if you could, subscribe button if you could. And the odds for the Super Bowl are currently up on BetUS right now. Go take advantage of them. Chiefs -1 on BetUS. Use the promo code YouTube150. It'll get you a 150% sign-up bonus, up to $2,000 on your first deposit. 125% bonus on your next two after that. Drop a comment below. We'll talk about all your comments tomorrow night on the Smoke Break. Looking forward to talking to you then. In the meantime, enjoy the rest of your Sunday night, folks. Much love as always, and go Bills.